Hello, everyone, and welcome to Auto Asphyxiation. It's Lark.
And Kimberly.
That's right. And we are exciting edition. And we're actually going to be like, not like we are not on topic because all of this stuff is interrelated. It's interdisciplinary. We talk about urbanism, and urbanism has to do with anthropology, has to do with biology, has to do with economics, the political economy, as they call it outside of the United States. And today we're going to talk about the Greenway, um, a a bikeway that I have tried for a very long time to be very, I've tried to be reasonable in regards to it. I've been trying to be reasonable. I've been trying to talk about it in a way that was like, okay, let's see what you folks are going to do with the Greenway. And at first, I'll tell you something. At first, when the Greenway first started, I really thought the whole point of the Greenway was to preserve the trains. And I thought, okay, the Greenway is going to preserve the trains, and so that way we can always put public transit back in where it's been gone. And this has kind of been going on since the aughts. This whole Greenway situation has been going on since the aughts. And the Greenway is essentially a continuous multi-use, human-powered green, like kind of like a shared path along a strip of undeveloped land in an urban or a rural area where you can walk or ride your bicycle. In New Jersey, we have a Greenway. And I'm gonna give you a little story before I kind of like let you you share some thoughts. Kimberly, I was in Sandy Hook, the one in New Jersey. I know there's several Sandy Hooks, but I was in Sandy Hook in New Jersey. It's a park. And I was riding my bicycle, my analog bicycle, and I was on this trail, and I was the only lone woman on the trail. And I was lots of middle-aged men of means with expensive electric bicycles. And they were because it's kind of like the middle of the day. And one man, I had on a skirt and I was riding my bike and he was like looking at my legs like so hard with his electric
Ew.
bicycle. May I add, going more than 10 miles per hour. We're supposed to only go 10 miles per hour. And he almost crashed into me. And he said, "Oh, I'm sorry. Like, what'd you expect me to do?" Because my legs apparently blinded him, and so he needed to crash into me. And it was a really uncomfortable situation because I realized that no one could see me. I was riding this bicycle and no one could see me, and I was separated by, no one could see me on the road. Anybody could do whatever they wanted to me. And when I had that kind of incident, I was just like, whoa, this isn't a way that I would really even this was the Greenway is not something I would use to get around to go to work or to just quickly. I mean, okay, what are your thoughts on this, Kimberly?
Well, I also have a scary bike story to share. When I used to live in Warren County, in Oxford specifically, I really wanted a bike because it was a really rural area. And I thought that, it'd be fun to have a bike and go for bike rides. And I got myself a bike. I put it together. I went out to go test it out on a warm February day. I stopped along the road, and an old man in a pickup truck came out of a dirt road and was like, "You look like a damsel in distress." And I was like, "Nope, just checking my brakes." And I turned around, I rode my bike home, and I never rode it again.
And this is the kind of stories that if you're a woman and you're, that's what anything but a cisgendered man who's of average size or greater. This is what happens when you have this situation where you don't have the eyes on the road and you're in isolated areas. And the thing about bicycling, I don't want with the cycling conversation, I don't want it to be this like either or zero sum game. I'm totally not about that. I think we should have recreational cycling, commuting cycling. I think we should have, racing cycling. I think we should have all kinds of cycling. But something that's interesting that has been happening in New Jersey is that essentially we're no longer talking about urban bicycling. Never. We're never talking about that. We're essentially only talking about the Greenway. We're essentially, you have politicians standing from the Greenway going, wow, it's going to happen. Oh, wow, I can't wait for the Greenway to happen. Okay, number one, okay, this is a very interesting phenomena because in New Jersey, it's a city rights local, like a city rights type of situation. I call it like states' rights, but it's for cities, which means that each city that the Greenway goes through has to vote on whether it gets to go through it. So essentially, what is happening is that the Greenway is never going to get connected, at least not in New Jersey, not at least not for the next 20 years. It's going to take decades for that to happen. And you know what? I think that's fine. You want to do that? That's fine. But we're not talking about anything else. We're not talking about it's literally like if you're like, hey, can we talk about getting commuting? Well, how can we connect to the Greenway? And I'm just like, everything can't be connected to the Greenway. And what problems are we actually trying to solve with bicycle infrastructure? Are we trying to give people, sorry, are we trying to give men, because that's what this is about, men more places to exercise? Because that's what it looks like to me. What about you, Kimberly?
That's essentially what it looks like to me also, because that's what it is on a lot of these bicycling trails that you find around the state. It's mostly men, that are using them, or maybe like, one guy and his wife or whatever, but it's usually men that are on the cycling trails. So like for me, like I would not commute on the Greenway by bike. It goes through rather heavily wooded areas. It's 9 miles long and about 100 feet wide. And it just doesn't seem like something that's really a solution to commuting by bicycle. It's more of a, hey, this is another place where you can use this recreationally.
And the thing that it's just like, it's very interesting to me that why are they focusing on this one marquee project rather than kind of trying to build a complete network? I mean, the thing is this, there's already a gap in between men and women in regards to pay. The average card now is $50,000. And I know I bring this up a lot. And women, caregivers, they need a way to option besides riding their bicycle. Sorry, option besides the car. They need options to. They need to be able to ride their bikes too. And here, and the biggest advocates in cycling in New Jersey and even in New York, their partners that take care of their babies and children don't ride bicycles. And I'm like, if you're so into this, if this is your baby and you can't even get the person you're sleeping with to get on a bicycle because that person doesn't feel it's safe, how effective are you as a advocate when essentially you can't get your partner who shares a bed with you to ride a bicycle? And essentially, anytime a man with some money and an idea throws something at you, you switch gears completely and dedicate your cause to what this rich man wants. Because I'm sorry, somebody's got to be paying these people with this whole Greenway thing. Because like literally, and yeah, well, anyway, I'm just going to say that and I'll let you have some conversation.
Well, I think, like I looked up the project and I looked over the part that they actually broke ground on. So that's one of the latest updates on the Greenway project when you go to the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection website. They broke ground in July of 2025 in Newark. In June, they had some volunteer efforts to clean up waste and illegal dumping along the Kearney section of it. So I really like the plans that are laid out for the Newark section. It's it connects Branch Brook Park. It connects a lot of areas in Newark. It is very community focused, but I still think that this is not a place for commuters. This is a place for recreation. And they're just kind of disguising that by saying it's for commuters.
And I think I don't like being played with. I don't like, and this trail is going to go from the top of the East Coast, I think like from New York all the way to like Baltimore. It's going to go through Virginia. It's going to go like all the way down the East Coast. And it's the East Coast Greenway. And so the part in New Jersey is 9 miles. And this is wonderful. That's great. But we have essentially, we just kind of celebrated we have an epidemic in regards to people being harmed by cars because of the infrastructure and because of the emphasis on we need to protect the car at any cost. We can't, and I just think it's really interesting that I say, and I've talked about this before, I'm like, we should have a bicycle lane on Bloomfield Avenue. And people are like, well, that's not realistic because it's with the county. Oh, so having a bike lane on Bloomfield is not feasible and it's not realistic, but having a greenway where you go from New York from the top of the East Coast to the bottom of the East Coast, that's a realistic, reasonable way to spend your time. That's more reasonable than Bloomfield Avenue, which didn't start off for cars, started off as, they had a light rail on it. Well, first, it started off with horses, and then it had a light rail on it, and essentially people were walking on it. So you're saying us taking that back to where it was before and letting people ride their bicycles on it and having a train on there, that's unrealistic. But a greenway, a trail that you ride your bike on in through like the forest and the swamp, because when we go through the Hudson's, it's literally a swamp where no one can see you, and this is going to be it's not going to be commuter. And this is it
No.
bothers me. They keep trying to turn this into some equity project. This is not an equity project. This is not going to be serving the underserved. This is oh, I even had that word. The economically excluded. The people who you have historically excluded in New Jersey. This project is not going to benefit them the way they're acting as if it is. I'm not saying that people won't enjoy it. They will. But this whole idea, like essentially saying we're building this to help historically excluded, you are insulting me. You're insulting me because you think that I'm actually like I don't know how to read, that I can't see what is happening. I can't see who is on this. I mean, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, but I think you're absolutely right. We can focus on both things. Two things can be true at the same time. Traffic has to be eased. Bike lanes help reduce car traffic. And a bike lane down Bloomfield Avenue in Essex County just makes perfect sense. It connects the entire county to each other. There's plenty of side streets for cars to park, and those nice wide parking spaces that fit those huge SUVs would make a beautiful protected bike lane.
And you're going by all the train stations. You're going by the heavy rail. You're going by the heavy rail, the light rail. You can go all the way to Penn Newark. I think about like, and I'm just kind of like, I there's a study in Sydney and it found out these single cycle ways disproportionately benefited higher income male users. And when you have a connected network, it has more equitable benefits. And this is, so this is like, these are studies they're saying this. We're not just like, I'm not just kind of going, oh, I'm being a hater. This is ridiculously like, and I would be, again, I would be okay with this, but it's essentially the conversation, the resources, the funding to advocate for bicycling in New Jersey has all been sucked up by this one project. Again, I'm totally okay with it. If you want to have a park advocate and you want to be a park advocate, fine. But the fact that every single dollar and resource and people power to talk about urbanism in New Jersey, which is the most urban and most dense state in the United States, is now going to talk about the Greenway, which is going to benefit a very small number of people because I don't even like how am I getting to work? How am I getting to work on the Greenway? Like, oh, I'm bored. I'm just going to go around the super long way. Why would I want to do that? You know
That's
why? And as you know, I ride my bike all the time. And another problem, we still you got they're working on people are working on the Greenway, and we still can't ride our bikes legally in Essex County parks. This is the thing that just boggles my mind.
That I find so absurd. Like I don't understand why you can't ride an analog bicycle. Like I understand if they want to ban electric bikes from the park spaces, but why ban like analog bicycles? That just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. And you're right, like the fact that we can't have proper connecting bike lanes throughout Essex County, but all of the conversation about bicycling and commuting is all about the Greenway project right now. It's disingenuous. It's disingenuous. People are not going to go out of their way to go on the Greenway to commute to work. People who commute to work by bike want to take the same route that a car does, the quickest route.
And also, initially the Greenway was, oh, we're doing this because we want to preserve the train. We want to preserve the train. We want to preserve the, the right of way and the public space for the trains. This is what we're doing. We're doing this so that we can help the trains, and make sure that the trains still exist when we want to like put them back into service. So in order to help the trains, you're ripping up the tracks. You have to rip up the tracks. And also, to me, I'm around a lot of train guys. I'm a lot of, as you know, I'm around a lot of train dudes, and I've talked to them. And these are people who were engineers, urban planners, people who are train enthusiasts. And I said, do you believe that this rail to trail thing, do you think this is going to save the trains? And they have told me no, they don't. If this was about that, they would be all for that. Why can't we get anybody who's into the who was into trains, into the hobbies? Why can't we get any of them to sign on to this project? If this was if the whole point is to essentially support trains and to support public transit, why are people who are for public transit and for trains, why are they not into this project? Oh, they just don't understand. We haven't understand if this project has been going on since this rail to trail thing has began in the aughts, and now it's 2025. At some point, which train line have they saved? I mean, that's what,
Yeah.
which bike trail went back and became a train? Is there one example? It's been 20 years now. Is there an example?
Well, and that especially wasn't maintenance and the tracks staying in place, like all the rails staying in place, part of that like rental agreement to use it for public space?
This is what I was under the impression of, and I just feel like I feel like so there's the argument and the justification for the rails to trails. I wouldn't have a problem if they were honest. But it seems like from the beginning of this conversation, oh, we're doing it to preserve the trains. Oh, we're doing it to essentially give historically excluded people a park to play in. It is the continuous lying. If they just said, we want to build this for white men, white able-bodied men, to essentially have a place to ride their bikes really fast on, fine, that's fair. You're giving us a fair, we're having a good faith conversation. But right now, we're not having a good faith conversation. And and there's a part of me that kind of wonders, is the entire point of this to distract us from urban cycling, to actually get us to not talk about the fact that we don't have any infrastructure for our bicycles, and we can use this like, oh, let's you have that Greenway, we don't really need a bike lane. I mean, is it a way to avoid the harder political conversations? Because I've noticed that everybody who's kind of touting this Greenway, it's like they drive cars, they don't ride bicycles. And so this is a really good way for them to be like, oh yeah, we're pro bicycles. If you put it in the swamp, if you put the bicycles in the swamp, we're totally for that, because we're not ceding any space, from for our car. We're not for our cars are essentially gets to keep their space. We're not ceding anything. We're essentially going to put you where no one can see you. I don't have to see you. And it's part of the conversation like, oh, it's not safe for bicyclists to be on the street. No, it's not safe for your car to be on the street. It's not safe for engineers and urban planners to essentially make us the car the primary vehicle in a place that is as urban and as dense as New Jersey. It makes absolutely no sense. And I'm
I agree with you. And I think that space really needs to be taken from cars. There are they are polluting death machines. And I'm a person who drives my car. I had to run errands today, and because I live in East Orange, who that's effectively cut off, and I had to run to Bloomfield and a couple of other places, like I had to take my car out. Like, but they are polluting death machines. Like, I drive as little as I possibly can. And we need less of them on our streets to be safer. And then I have another question about this as well. Like, we know that this is really geared towards white upper middle class residents. And in doing that, it cuts off Black and Brown communities away from the project, potentially even adding more congestion as cars are diverted away from the Greenway area for construction and things like that.
And how are people going to get to the Greenway? I think this is the same thing with the the Morris Canal and things like that. I'm like, okay, because we don't have good intra-city, intra-county, intra-state transit, people are going to drive to the Greenway. So because you have no way in. I mean, there'll be some places where they have little, offshoots where you can kind of get to it. But essentially people are going to be driving to the Greenway. And you are doing the situation, and this would be fine if this was about park advocacy and people talking about parks, I would have no problem with this. But we're having a situation now where we are creating again this US thing where we make cycling a recreational activity rather than a commuter activity. Now, of course, it can be both, but since literally all resources in regards to bicycling now in New Jersey has to also bring up the Greenway because I've been on like these different advocacy groups and every time someone brings up anything at all, oh, parks. Oh, we can connect that to the Greenway. Oh, can we have a bike lane here? We connect it to the Greenway. I swear to God, I don't want to hear about the Greenway anymore because essentially you are creating a narrative that states that instead of focusing in on how to get people to work, focusing on people to school, focusing in on like lessening people driving, we're focusing in on a park. And again, park advocacy is wonderful, but that is not bicycle advocacy. And I'm not sure what's going on and how much money people are getting paid, but clearly someone is getting paid to talk about this incessantly because it's just getting on my nerves at this point. And remember, Kimberly, we were very cool about this earlier this
Yeah.
year. We were like, oh, but every single event we go to, this thing comes up. I don't want to talk about it.
Well, and then like they want to connect all these bike paths to the Greenway. Why don't you make thorough bike paths that connect to residential areas of the cities so that people can actually use them and be safe?
How about having a bike path that goes to Penn Newark? How about a network of bike paths? How about instead of going, let's connect this to the Greenway, we go, how can we connect this to Penn Station? How can we connect this to a heavy rail station? How can we connect this to a light rail station? Instead of how to connect this to a park. Again, if this was park advocacy, that would be fabulous. Thank you for doing that extra work. But if this is what we're going this is where we are on the game board in regards to urbanism in New Jersey, essentially recreational rides for children, recreational rides for adults, and essentially still driving, still dedicated to the car. And I think the problem is we don't have people in New Jersey who are essentially who are outside of men. We almost have no people who are advocates who actually use bicycles as a primary way to get around. And as you know, Kimberly, the one time where I was supposed to be at the head of some organization in regards to bicycling, I said we're going to create urban cycling, and essentially they essentially ghosted me and told me they didn't want to talk to me anymore.
It's a look, I think riding a bike in a park is a lovely thing. Like that's we have a lot of really beautiful parks in Essex County. Essex County is known for our parks. Branch Brook, etc., which you can't ride your bike in them. Like I think that they are being very disingenuous, and I think they are doing it on purpose, and I think that they're doing it so that they can shut down actual bicycle advocates like yourself, um, and redirect the conversation and be like, no, 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 it's totally fine. Just take the Greenway. You know that the park 4 miles from your house connects right to the Greenway, right? Like,
And I think about we have studies, essentially, like I think about Lindsey Braun had a study about could bike lane investment widen the gap between, people riding their bicycles. And there's like saying, yes, there's studies that if we have actual protected bike lanes in areas that have been historically excluded, people will feel more comfortable riding a bicycle. And the thing is this, people no longer can afford cars. I can barely afford a car. If my car died, that would be it. That would be it. I don't have I luckily I don't have to use my car, but I swear if I could not afford to buy a new car. I would simply have to, only get around by bicycle, only get around by public transit. And this is the thing that I'm talking about. We don't have people who essentially view this as not only for the climate crisis, but also for our economic crisis. And this is for everybody. This is not just, oh, poor people in the inner city. This is so-called middle class people. This is we're spending large amounts of money. This is why they have the 15-year car loan. They're playing around with the 15-year car loan, which is wild in itself. We have subprime used car loans. And this is something that, we don't have to do this. We could literally, there's nothing, we don't have to compete. And that's the thing. We have this situation where I feel like they think that if we talk about urban cycling, it's taken away from the Greenway. And it is not. But now it's like 95% of the talk in bicycle advocacy in New Jersey is only about the Greenway and how to connect to it. And this is it clear the zero sum game is not by us urban commuter cyclists. It's clearly in the hands of the people who are essentially just continuously pushing the Greenway as if we talk about anything else, that takes away from the Greenway. It's not. But we really, really, really need to be able to have conversations about other topics without tying it to this one project because not everyone is getting paid for that project. And I understand if that's what, that's your bread and butter, but that's fine. But that is not bicycle advocacy. That is essentially a PR service for whoever pet project that is. And that's something completely different than bicycle advocacy.
I think that both conversations can be had, and I don't understand why they're not having both conversations. Like if we had protected bike lanes in East Orange, I would put my roller skates on so fast. And if we had protected bike lanes that led from my house to your house, which we're only about a mile and a half apart, but we live in different cities that have different access to public transportation. But if we had like a truly interconnected, like protected bike lane, I would skate to your house.
No, I would too. I would definitely do this. I mean, this is it's just like essentially, they have um when they talk about infrastructure, and if we're trying to get infrastructure so that we don't have to drive, you have to be able to talk about urban commuting, cycling. This is something that it's not a nice to have, it's a must have in order for us to kind of get off of the number one driver of the climate crisis and CO2 emissions in New Jersey, which is people's which is the car. So I mean, we don't really have a choice here. We are, contributing to pollution of our waterways because of when you're driving a car, like the oil and all that stuff, the runoff. We're contributing to the climate crisis. We're contributing to killing off little bugs when we're driving our cars. I mean, the thing is that, I mean, it seems weird, but and also too that the car is like literally the second killer of children. And imagine if if a bicycle, if a bi imagine how people would act if an electric bike ran over a kid. Oh, we've got to get rid of them. We've got to get rid of the bike. But a car, well, there's always some excuse. There's always some excuse. And 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 it's like the part of me again, one of the pet peeves I have with the situation is they're like, this is for people who are this is for African Americans, this is for Latinos. I I know this is not true. I'm not an I'm a well-read person. I have eyes. I can see who this is benefiting. And I also um understand when people are not telling me the truth and when people are lying to me. And I don't appreciate it. I don't appreciate people lying about something that we all know is not true. And we have to pretend like, oh, yeah, this is about equity. This is not about equity. This is about recreation, and that's fine. But don't, we call it don't pee on my face and then say it's rain. Is that the
Yeah,
right way?
yeah. I think so. Yes, yes. No, but like you're right. Just like just come out and say that it's a park project. Like that's okay. Like you said, park advocacy is great. Essex County could use another park, like especially the way that it connects everything. And some of their little mock-ups and everything look fantastic. Like it looks like it's going to be a really nice community centric path, but it's not going to be a commuter path.
And with that, we're wrapping this up, and we need for you to subscribe to Autofixation, share this with your bicycling advocacy groups, so I can see that, and also too, we are trying to do what we can to support you in doing other and support you. And I understand that we are in a different administration now, in regards to the federal government, but we still can be part of the conversation of what commuting can look like and what bicycling can look like. We still have control over this. And the propaganda of the car and this propaganda that a bicycle is a toy and for children, it needs to be stopped. It needs to be ended. We need to be able to have people to be out there and riding their bicycles and being out in the fresh air. And imagine if people, when they got picked up from school, instead of everybody's like parents, like, in that weird line where they go and they have to hang, honking at each other. Imagine if all the children were able to like go home with bicycles. I mean, that would be a beautiful thing. Like even in the high schools, I don't even understand. We have this massive pickup situation in the high schools and junior highs. If we had bike lanes, they could all ride their bike home. And that would be a beautiful thing. And and that can happen. We're so dense and it's such a small, New Jersey is very tiny. We could do this.
We could do this. And that, like I also want to remind our listeners that everything that we talk about here ties into public health in some way, shape, or form. Uh, Cars are polluting. They're polluting the most oppressed communities within the United States. And it's time to think about things differently and to work on becoming an interconnected community.
And with that, yeah, anyway, I will, we will talk to you soon, and you have a great rest of have a great rest of your evening or whatever you're doing right now. Okay, bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening.